Hi, and welcome to another installment of the Boston Sci-Fi podcast, or whatever. We're not sure exactly what we're calling these things, but what's going to happen is that I'm going to talk about what's going to play in the marathon. My name is Garen Daly. I'm the festival director for the 47th Boston Science Fiction Film Festival and Marathon, and welcome. So before we get going, this is a very exciting time for what we're doing the festival. I mean, we've been working since like last year, and slowly building up things and getting films and stuff like that. We can now announce that we have over I think it's 99 films that we're going to be in SF47. 66 of them will be shorts. We have 10 packages of shorts and about 30 features. We'll also have a bunch of panels. We'll have some parties. We'll have our costume ballroom. We're going to have the marathon, obviously. And there's going to be a lot of people wondering what's going on with COVID, and I'll talk about that in a minute or two. But before we get into that, I wanted to mention that everyone on the team is working really, really hard. You can't get 99 films without people working very, very hard. Angela, Violet, Katerina, Harry, Rob. It's just everybody, and I'm sure I've forgotten several people right now. But one of the people that's been working very, very hard has been Peter Stray. Now, you may remember Peter. Peter was the director for Canaries, and he's just finished up our trailer for SF47. And if you haven't seen it yet, here it is.
My fears would fade, and now they're making me tremble. But I'm not afraid.
Alicia Thomas.
I am not
Are
afraid.
you up watching that sci-fi stuff again? Alicia Thomas?
Alicia Thomas, will you sign this? I love your movies.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Thank you.
Good to go, Miss Thomas.
I like it. I just think Peter is so creative and wonderful. And he secured an actor from New York City. He secured the music from a composer out in LA. I think he just did a really nice job, and it has a really nice sensibility to it. But this is an example of how hard everyone is working to be able to create SF47. And this particular podcast is going to be about the films that are going to be in the marathon. So let's start off with that. One of the films that we'll be doing will be Star Trek First Contact. Now, this is the 1996 film directed by Jonathan Frakes. I always wonder if I'm really saying his last name correctly or not. And I have a wonderful bit of trivia in it, but before we get into the trivia, I thought we'd show you a quick clip of Star Trek First Contact, which will be inside the marathon.
Bridge to Captain Picard.
Go ahead.
We've just received word from the fleet. They've engaged the Borg. sensors show chronometric particles emanating from the sphere.
They're creating a temporal vortex.
Time travel.
Data, report.
We appear to be caught in a temporal wake.
Captain. Earth.
The atmosphere contains high concentrations of methane, carbon monoxide, and fluorine.
Life signs?
Population approximately 9 billion. All Borg.
All Borg. You know, we're actually taping this on January 6th, which is the anniversary of the insurrection. And I think the insurrection actually won because all of those people were Borg. I'm sure I'll get some feedback on that comment. But anyways, we know the story. We know the characters. We all love the characters. But I have a couple of little trivia things that I love to throw out there. The first one is Gates McFadden. Now, we all know that she plays the good doctor. But the one thing that you may not know is that before she became an actor, she was a waitress. And do you want to know where she was a waitress? At the Orson Welles restaurant, the restaurant at the Orson Welles. I found that out, a little bit of trivia from the inimitable Larry Jackson, who started our festival. The other little bit of trivia I have is, I don't know about you, but I have a thing for Alice Krige. You know, she's not your classic beauty and things like that. But I remember watching Star Trek First Contact and saying, I know her from someplace, and she's been in a lot of films. But her very first film was Chariots of Fire, which kind of amazed me. Those are my two little pieces of trivia about that. There is one other little bit. The main star of this, besides the cast, is James Cromwell, who you probably recognize. He comes from basically Hollywood royalty. I don't know if you know this, but his father was John Cromwell. And John Cromwell was a big director in the 30s. He did things like The Fountainhead with Gary Cooper and a bunch of other films and had a great career until he got blacklisted by he was one of the Hollywood 8 and didn't get his career revived until the 60s. But James Cromwell is his son. And one last thing I'm looking at my notes here in case you're wondering why I'm putting my head down, because I never remember everything. One of the other things is when you do see the credits, when you're watching this in the marathon, make sure you stay to the end and watch the credits where it says stunt doubles, because right after that, it'll say stunt Borg. Just another piece of trivia. The next film is kind of funny in a way that we have this tangential connection going back to John Cromwell. And that's The Invisible Woman. The female lead of Invisible Woman is Virginia Bryce. It was supposed to be Margaret Sullivan, who was in Shop Around the Corner and a bunch of other films, but she wouldn't do it because she wanted to be in a film with John Cromwell, that John Cromwell was directing, and it was a big doo-doo, and Virginia Bruce ended up being in that. This is part of that 3 or 4 films that Universal cranked out in the late 30s and early 40s on The Invisible Man, Return of the Invisible Man, and this is the third in the series, The Invisible Woman, and they take it in a different direction. It's more of a comedy. Here's a clip.
You're materializing. Go get your clothes on. Why, Professor, I'm ashamed of you.
Get me a nurse, get me a doctor, get me something.
George, we better get the professor.
What for? To cheer up a lot of bedclothes?
Come clean about how that machine works. Make me invisible. I did not invent that machine to make killers like you invisible.
Oh, this is gonna be good. Whoopee!
Well, those are the noisiest grasshoppers I ever heard. You Christopher Columbus, we're being shot at!
It's not one of those great films, but it sure is a lot of fun watching this film. And it's got a great supporting cast. Because remember, this is a Universal film, and they had all these people under contract. Some of the people that they had was Margaret Hamilton was in it. You know, the Wicked Witch of the East. Charles Ruggles was in it. And if you're really careful, you'll see Shemp Howard playing one of the gangsters in it. It's written by Kurt Siodmak, who also did Wolfman, Donovan's Brain, Earth versus Flying Saucers. So it has a pedigree to it that's pretty good. It's short and it's fun, and it was actually considered very risque back in 1940 when it came out because she was naked, even though she was invisible. She was naked, and people really were kind of like taken aback by, oh my God, they're showing a naked woman on screen, even though they weren't. The third film that we're going to talk about is one of those films. It's hard for me to sometimes to explain what we do here, but let me just tell you the story about this next particular film. I heard about this film years ago, and like in the 80s, I think I first heard about it. And it was considered this great cult film, notorious for being one of the worst films ever made. There were all sorts of problems with the rights. You couldn't hear anything. You couldn't find a print anyway. And they just put up the poster. It's called The Man Who Saved the World. It's also known as the Turkish Star Wars. But the story behind it is that I read someplace in one of the trade magazines that the film was being restored. And so I tracked down the guy who was restoring it. And for the next 7.5 or 8 years, we have been exchanging emails talking about when is it going to be ready? When is it going to be completed? And it's now completed, but it's really, there's no prints out there. So in the restoration process, which I'm not sure if you're interested in as I am, is the original release was like 80 minutes long. The version that we're going to be showing is going to be 98 minutes. And what they did was they took the last remaining 35 millimeter print of it, which was in bad shape, and took that and scanned that. Then they also got some Betamax from Germany and some videos from other countries and had been working on it for years, and then actually added some of the sound effects over, added new sound effects to it to create this new thing. And we have the complete 98-minute version that is going to play for it. It is horrible. And here's we're going to show you a clip of it, and you'll see what we're talking about.
Beyinlerini bir enerji gibi kullanmasını öğrenmişler. Eğer bir insan beyni ele geçirirsem, dünyayı da ele geçiririm. Bilinmeyen bir güç bizi kendine çekiyor. Dünyadan çok uzaklaştık. Göstergeler çalışmıyor. Bilemiyorum bu gücün ne olduğunu. Çok tehlikeli bir durumdayız. Dikkatli olman lazım. Sana ulaşamamak kaybetmek değildir dünya.
Obviously, they lifted and took a bunch of stuff, including the latest from the Lost Ark soundtrack, as well as footage from Star Wars, hence the name, the Turkish Star Wars. And the story, there is actually a story behind it. And believe it or not, the filmmakers and the people who made this film are extremely proud of this film. And their backstory is pretty good. We found a short documentary, which we'll put up on social media in the near future, explaining everything that's going on there. But when you look at the film, you'll notice that they shot the film in a standard aspect ratio, the height to width of the film. But when they lifted and literally stole the images from Star Wars was an anamorphic, or 1 to 2.66, and so it's completely out of whack when you're looking at it. They're all stretched out. And in fact, when you finally see the Death Star, it looks more like it's an egg, not a star, not a oval at all. But it's going to be in the marathon. It should be a lot of fun. We should have a great time with it. Before we leave you, I just want to let you know that we're going to have festival tickets go on sale on January 16th. Also, that'll be when prices go up for marathon tickets and the festival tickets. And a lot of people are asking us, well, what's going on with COVID and Omicron and all that? Our opinion will be, well, first of all, we will be doing strict COVID protocols. You have to have be double vaxxed, and you have to be, or fully vaxxed, and you have to have a booster shot to get in. People who are unvaccinated are not going to be able to get in at all. And we're just not going to go down that road at all. And we hope to have some testing on site as well. And of course, masks. And we're going to be making some masks. I don't know if we're going to make enough for everybody, but we'll try. And so, and we anticipate that when it comes to the Omicron, right now, everyone is freaking out of it. Aresia just got canceled. Sundance is just going on virtual, no live. We expect that it's going to decrease in virulency in mid-January and then be relatively okay by the time we have the festival. So that's where we stand right now. It'll be updated as we go along. When I was looking at my notes here, well, I think that's really all I have to say right now, other than we will be doing another episode of this and for the marathon films. Also, we'll be doing other things for the festival films. We'll be putting festival films on our social media with trailers. And like I said, the tickets go on sale on the 16th of January. Thank you for stopping in. My name is Garen Daly, and this is the Boston Science Fiction Film Festival, February 16th through the 21st. And don't forget, we'll have a costume ball, we'll have the marathon, and we'll have over 90 films showing at the festival this year. The future is now. Thank you and goodbye.